Well, everyone, it's time for us to go ahead and take a look at the iPhone SE 2020 model and compare it against the iPhone XR in 2022 and see which specific phone is a better one for you. Now, we're approaching the end of this year very soon, but both these iPhones have actually equaled out to somewhat around the same price, which is actually very interesting. So let's go and see how they compare. If you want to pick up either one of these phones, the links will be down in the description. You can get them from there, help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, you can definitely tell the iPhone XR is a bigger phone overall, which is pretty much what's expected. The XR came out in 2018, and this was honestly not that bad of a phone at that time. I think this product could have been looked a little bit better or whatever, but I still think it looks pretty good for the most part. You have a 6.1 inch, Retina display on the front. You have the notch. You have a decent panel overall. Like I said, it could be much worse, and I feel like with this type of panel, it still holds up very, very decently well in 2022. It's like a 750 display, and overall, even though it's not an OLED, it still looks pretty good in my eyes. Now on the iPhone SE2, on the other hand, we're getting a smaller 4.7 inch IPS panel as well. So this is just like an IPS panel that's on the iPhone XR. However, there are some pretty big key differences in my opinion. For one, you can see that this phone has way more bezel on it than the iPhone XR. So this phone definitely looks like a more outdated phone, even though this came out in 2020. It looks like it's a phone from like 2017 because of the iPhone 8. So this is why I always bring up I feel like Apple could have done a better job. There's not too much of a use complaining about it now. You do have Touch ID on the front, which is kind of nice, and you can probably pick up this phone for around the same price like I mentioned before as the iPhone XR. Now, in terms of thinness and thickness, this was a really cool thing for both of these phones because they're kind of like the opposite. When the iPhone SE2 came out, it was a very thin phone. When the iPhone XR came out, it was a very thick phone. So you can kind of see how both these phones kind of compare in that standpoint. You kind of have like the same type of design, and these are the same colors on both as well, the white color, and both these whites are like almost identically the same as well. So even though the iPhone XR is thicker, I do like having a thicker phone because it does pretty much give you, more battery life, things like that, more room to play with, if you will. On the bottom, we have a lightning ports on both, which are really cool. So no headphone jacks or anything like that, but that's kind of expected as of this point. On the back, we do have kind of different setups, as I've mentioned before as well. So we have with the iPhone XR, single camera setup, iPhone SE2 single camera setup, but just take a look at how much bigger the camera is on the iPhone XR. Now, it's not automatically a better camera just because it's a bigger lens, but you are getting, more of a lens to kind of mess around with. So that's kind of something to keep in mind. Both these phones also still have wireless charging, which is nice. They both have IP certification, which is really cool. Glass backs as well. So both these phones feel very, very premium here. So those are some really important things to kind of keep in mind. So when it comes down to both these phones, both of them, still feel very premium. None of them really feel cheap, but the iPhone XR definitely feels and looks like a much more premium phone than the iPhone SE2. However, looks can be deceiving because just because that phone is, the newer one doesn't necessarily mean that it's the better one in every single area. The iPhone XR does have kind of one disadvantage, and because it does have a 2-year-old chip inside of it compared to the iPhone SE2, this one has the A12. This one, has a newer chipset inside of it. The iPhone SE2 is definitely going to be outlasting the iPhone, the iPhone XR. So, from my experience, that's always something to keep in mind. So, you are getting a newer chipset inside of the iPhone SE2. It could last like 2 years newer or whatever. This one has the A13. This one has the A12. So, it's always one of those things that kind of up in the air. We're going to have to kind of see what happens, but the iPhone XR is probably not going to last as long as the iPhone SE2. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these phones. The iPhone XR has that Apple A12 chip inside of it with 3 gigabytes of RAM. With the iPhone SE2, it has that Apple A13 body chip inside of it with 3 gigs of RAM as well. So let's go and see which one's the faster one between both. Okay, there we go. Hopefully it looks good. I know it's kind of at an angle, but it's the best angle I could get. So phone calls, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go and hop out of this one. Let's go and get into their app stores, 3, 2, 1. Totally messed that one up too. But let's just go and see if it works. So they both kind of actually open up around the same time. Let's go and scroll through and see if there's a big difference. And so far, it's looking kind of like the same thing. Let's go and hop out of this one. And about the same thing, how to kind of mess around with it a little bit. Let's go and open up their photo here. And again, both of these don't want to act up today, which is very, very interesting. Clock, 3, 2, 1. iPhone SE2 actually looked a little bit faster there. That was like the first app that actually opened on time. As always, we have some of these third-party applications, so we can go and get into it. Let's go and load something like Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. Now I'm hoping there's no pop-ups. If there are, I'm going to try my best to kind of exit out of them as fast as possible. And of course we have these two pop-ups, but they did actually load up at basically the same time. So let me go and click here, let me go continue. Let's go and see what happens here. Of course we have Game Center that pops up. And it looks like the iPhone SE2 was the faster one to actually load into it. The iPhone XR a little bit behind, but again, not really like a crazy big difference, but a slight one for sure. And you can see the iPhone XR was a little bit slower than the iPhone SE. Let's do snake first blocks, 3, 2, 1. And I think the iPhone SE2 was the faster one there as well, getting into some gameplay. So you guys can kind of see kind of the same thing. Let's go up here, Netflix, 3, 2, 1. And iPhone SE2 again is the faster one. Hopping out of here, stack, 3, 2, 1. And that one kind of covers up that one as well. Let's go ahead and do Snapchat, 3, 2, 1. And iPhone SE2 was faster. So I think it's quite obvious Snapchat is, or all these applications are probably going to run faster and smoother on the iPhone SE2. But I still think the iPhone XR is still a very smooth phone. I like having that gesture-based design for sure as well. Now, in the camera, specific standpoint, you are getting, like I mentioned before, kind of a bigger camera lens on the iPhone XR. The iPhone SE2 has that single wide-angle lens. So does the iPhone XR. Both can do 4K at 60 on the back, but the XR can do 1080p at 60 on the front. The iPhone SE2 can only do 1080p at 30 on the back, on the front. So not a big deal, but one of those things to keep in mind. Now in the camera department with the XR, as I mentioned for years now, this iPhone camera surprised me when it first came out. I thought it was going to be really bad, and although it's still not like great that much anymore, it still kind of has grown on a lot of people, and it's not the worst thing about this phone. I would say the display might be one area that could need the most improvement, but this phone still has time-lapse, video mode, photo mode, portrait mode, panorama mode. The photos and videos I've taken from this type of phone for the last few years have been pretty solid. Definitely not perfect, but they've gotten the job done, and I've been totally okay with the performance that I've gotten from this camera. So although it's not perfect, like I said before, I think it still gets the job done for sure. With the iPhone SE2's camera, like I said, I think this is still a very solid camera too for its price tag now, but when it first came out, it really wasn't that great. Like if you get this phone for like $100 and something, I think there's definitely been worse phones for that type of price tag. So you're getting obviously photo, video mode, you're getting portrait mode as well. The things that irk me the most about both these phones is the single lens. I wish it was more than one lens, but again, that's kind of what you expect nowadays. You're also getting, decent lighting and all that stuff, but it's definitely not that great compared to even probably like an iPhone XS for sure. So that kind of covers it up there. And to be honest, I think both these phones kind of fit in a very interesting area. I don't really think one of these phones is like the go-to, you have to buy this phone over the other one. I would definitely say though, the iPhone XR is the one that is kind of the better one when it comes down to it. I feel like this is the better one for sure. I feel like this device is giving you a better panel, better battery life, better display, not better performance, but just better UI because you can use the gestures. On the iPhone SE2, you don't have that gesture design. So that's kind of the main difference here. The SE2 is a faster phone though, so keep that in mind, but that pretty much covers it up. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.